Hi guys, Ben here, Hot Spring Spas and Pool Tables 2. I'm over at the service center today and we're going to talk hot tub covers. As most of you realize, your cover takes a real beating being outside in North Dakota. We're at the height of winter here, we're in the middle of February, and there's a few things I'd like you to look at when you're doing a cover inspection to make sure that your cover is performing correctly. And one thing to remember is if your cover is not performing correctly and you're losing heat, especially this time of year when it's this cold in February, it's actually less expensive to replace the cover sometimes than to continue on with one that's losing heat. One of the first things you want to look at is when your cover's shut, it should be perfectly flat on top. We don't want to see any sagging. A lot of times you'll notice after a rain you'll get a puddle or water pooling on top of the cover. That's an indication that your cover is wearing down and you're probably not getting a good seal. Another thing you want to look at as you're inspecting the top of your cover, you want to make sure that this vinyl isn't cracking or wearing out so that water can get through. Another important part of your cover that you want to inspect is the strap that holds the cover to the hot tub. We want to make sure that this strap is holding the cover tight down to form a nice seal so that we're not losing heat. Another important part to inspect is the hinge where the cover folds. We want to make sure that there's no cracking or the seam is starting to come undone. This is a real common place where we're going to lose heat if this isn't in good condition. It's also important to look at the bottom or underneath of your cover to make sure there's no tears or openings where water can penetrate into the foam. And as you tip your cover back, you'll notice a flap on the seam on both edges. This is where the cover is designed to seal up on the edges where the seam is so that we're not losing any heat. Losing heat is the same as losing money. You can often tell if your cover's worn out if it starts to get heavy. That water is already penetrated into the foam, and that's a good indication that your cover needs to be replaced. And lastly, if your cover has a funny mildew or musty smell, that's another pretty good indication that your cover's worn out and should be replaced. A good hot tub cover is typically going to last, depending on where your hot tub is sitting, between 2 and sometimes up to 5 or 6 years. But it's important to do an inspection every once in a while to make sure you're noticing where the wear and tear may be costing you money. So if you're noticing any of the wear and tear that we've talked about, it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe take a picture and show one of the pros in our showroom or at our service center, and we can recommend if your cover needs to be